$1.3 billion. Apollo just put its private credit fund on Solana DeFi. 3 questions. Why did Apollo pick Solana over Ethereum? How does $1.3 billion in private credit become DeFi collateral overnight? And what does this mean for the next institutional issuer? Here's how it happened. 2 years ago, the tokenized real-world asset market was worth less than $1 billion. Today, it is over $21 billion. Tokenized private credit alone has crossed $10 billion. This is the fastest-growing institutional product category in crypto, and the playbook that wins it sets the template for everything that comes after. Here is the thesis. Apollo went where the credit was usable, not where the prestige was. 43.7% of Solana real-world assets are deployed in DeFi lending markets today. On Ethereum, only 6.1% are. 5 times more useful per token on Solana. That's the gap that decided this. The rest of this episode is how it happened, what it cost Ethereum, and what it means for the next issuer. Quick teardown of ACRED first. The fund is the Apollo Diversified Credit Fund, $1.3 billion in assets under management. It pays an 11.7% yield as of 2024. The underlying is short-dated private corporate credit, mid-cap loans that Apollo originates and holds. The token is called ACRED. It's a feeder into the fund, not a wrapper around fund shares, a token that itself represents the fund interest. The issuer is Securitize, same shop that issued BUIDL last year. You remember BUIDL, BlackRock's tokenized treasury fund, $2.58 billion. The one Circle's USYC overtook last month. The one you watched lose 7 categories out of 8 on this channel. Same Securitize playbook, different chain, different asset class. Apollo isn't tokenizing treasuries. Apollo is tokenizing private credit, the harder thing. Treasuries are commoditized. Private credit is bespoke. If you can put credit risk on-chain in a way DeFi can actually use, you've solved the harder version of the problem. ACRED launched on 6 chains simultaneously through Wormhole: Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Polygon, Aptos, and Ink. By raw count, it's a multi-chain product. By usage, it's a Solana product. The Solana integrations are where the lending markets are. The person actually shipping this at Apollo is Christine Moy, Apollo partner, digital assets. She came over from JP Morgan Onyx in 2022. She's been quietly saying the same thing for 3 years. DeFi isn't a competitor to institutional credit. DeFi is a distribution channel for it. The tokenization layer is Securitize, run by Carlos Domingo. He shipped BUIDL with BlackRock. He's shipping ACRED with Apollo. 2 of the largest asset managers in the world have now picked the same issuance partner. The risk curation layer is Stakehouse Financial. Their analyst of record on credit, ADCV, designed the leverage parameters for the Camino looping strategies. Without that risk work, ACRED sits in vaults. With it, ACRED becomes the underlying for a structured product. 3 names to remember: Christine Moy at Apollo, Carlos Domingo at Securitize, ADCV at Stakehouse. Apollo's ACRED token doesn't just sit in a wallet. Here's the one design choice that decided the chain. Deposit ACRED into Camino Multiply. The protocol locks it in a vault and mints you a receipt token called Sacred. That receipt is fungible, transferable, and composable. It's a real ERC token equivalent on Solana that any other DeFi protocol can recognize as collateral. Now take that Sacred and post it back into a Solana lending market as collateral. Borrow USDC against it. Use the USDC to buy more ACRED. Deposit that ACRED into Camino. Get more Sacred. Loop it. Each loop concentrates the 11.7% yield. 2 loops and you're at 23. 3 loops gets you to 35 before borrow costs. Stakehouse curates the risk parameters so the loops don't blow up. The end state is a structured, leveraged private credit position that lives entirely on-chain. Apollo's credit fund didn't become a wrapper sitting in a wallet. It became collateral. Apollo went where the credit was usable, not where the prestige was. Step back. ACRED on Solana versus ACRED on Ethereum. Same token, same issuer, same underlying fund, different chain. On Solana, ACRED has Camino Multiply for composable leverage, Jupiter for execution, and a half dozen Solana credit venues taking it as collateral. A complete credit stack. Day 1. On Ethereum, ACRED has Aave at version 4, Compound, a few smaller markets. None of them are calibrated for private credit collateral the way Camino is. The lending stack on Ethereum is built for stablecoins and ETH. It is not yet built for the long tail of tokenized real-world assets that Apollo is shipping. The asset is identical. The utility is not. That's what 43.7% versus 6.1% means. It's not a marketing stat. It's the gap between productive collateral and shelfware. Apollo went where the credit was usable, where Solana's real-world asset market sits today. 2.5 billion in total RWA TVL, up from 215 million a year ago. 10x growth in 12 months. The top players on Solana now. Apollo ACRED at the front of the credit category. BlackRock BUIDL at 321 million on Solana. Hashnote Hastra Prime at 322 million. Mabel Finance's Syrup USDC product at 164 million. Centrifuge expanded to BNB chain in January, but hasn't anchored heavily on Solana yet. Ethereum still has 14.9 billion in RWA TVL, 65% market share. Solana is at 12%. Ethereum is still the king by AUM, but the growth rate gap is the story. Solana's TVL has been doubling every 6 months. Ethereum's is doubling every 12. If those rates hold, Solana crosses Ethereum on total RWA AUM somewhere around late 2027. Speaking of new entrants, last week, KKR, the largest competitor to Apollo in private credit, signaled they're exploring the same move. Hamilton Lane signaled the week before that. Both shops were quoted at Conference Circuit talking about on-chain distribution as their 2027 priority. Neither has shipped yet. Counting Apollo, BlackRock, Franklin, Hashnote, and the 2 new signals, at least 5 institutional issuers are now actively building on-chain private credit or treasury products. That is the institutional dam breaking. It is not a thesis anymore. It's a moving line of capital. Solana versus Ethereum for tokenized private credit. The category's institutional issuers actually weigh. 1. Finality. Solana, 400 milliseconds with Firedancer. Ethereum, 12 seconds. Solana wins. 2. Transaction cost. Solana, subcent. Ethereum, dollars when busy. Solana wins. 3. Composability for credit. 43.7% of Solana RWAs are in lending. Ethereum is at 6.1. Solana wins. 4. Working leverage product. Solana has Camino Multiply running composable leverage live. Ethereum has more aging vault contracts that weren't built for private credit specifically. Solana wins. 5. Growth rate. Solana RWA TVL grew 10x in 12 months. Ethereum doubled. Solana wins. 6. Brand depth. Ethereum is still the institutional anchor by AUM. Ethereum wins this one. 6 categories. Solana won 5. Ethereum won 1. Apollo picked the scoreboard. Apollo went where the credit was usable. The why now is the lending stack. 2 years ago, Solana DeFi was meme tokens and Jupiter. Today, Camino runs 4 billion in deposits. The Solana credit venues collectively run more than $1 billion. Jupiter clears more daily volume than Uniswap on some days. The infrastructure isn't being promised, it's already there. And the credit curators are too. Stakehouse, Gauntlet, Block Analytica. These are the firms that write risk parameters for institutional capital. They've been operating on Ethereum for 3 years. As of 2026, they're all on Solana too. The credit infrastructure followed the lending infrastructure. Apollo isn't betting on Solana's future. Apollo is using Solana's present. If you are sitting at a treasury desk, a credit desk, or a fund admin team thinking about tokenizing your own product, here are the 3 decisions Apollo and ACRED just forced you to make. 1. Pick the chain where your asset can be used, not where it can be held. Holding a token in a wallet generates no yield. The wrapper alone is shelfware. The chain choice is decided by whether the lending and collateral markets exist for your specific asset type. For treasuries today, that's still Ethereum. For private credit and structured yield, it's Solana. 6 months from now, those answers may shift. Watch the utility numbers, not the AUM numbers. 2. Wire to a real lending market on day 1, not after launch. BUIDL launched and waited months for Aave and Curve integrations. ACRED launched with Camino Multiply and the full Solana credit stack live on day 1. The difference is 100% of ACRED supply being usable on day 1 versus BITL still tuning utilization at month 9. Day 1 integrations are the new minimum viable product for institutional issuance. 3. Recruit a credit curator before the auditor. Stakehouse, Gauntlet, Block Analytica. These firms write the leverage parameters, the liquidation curves, the oracle bands. Without that work, your token sits in a vault. With it, your token becomes collateral. The smart issuers retain a credit curator before the security audit closes. The naive ones retain one after volume disappoints. Get those 3 right, and you ship into a lending market. Get them wrong, and you ship into a wallet. Apollo did not switch to Solana because Solana got bigger. Apollo switched because Solana got useful. The chains that win institutional in 2027 won't be the chains with the most AUM. They'll be the chains with the most utility per token. AUM is a lagging indicator. Utility is the leading one. Apollo just told you which one they're watching. Apollo went where the credit was usable, not where the prestige was. 1.3 billion in private credit just became leveraged collateral on a chain that didn't exist 5 years ago. The institutional dam isn't breaking next quarter. It broke this week. Next Thursday, we look at what's coming after credit. Robinhood just tokenized the S&P 500 in Europe. The SEC has 90 days to respond. EP05 walks through what tokenized equities look like when they hit American retail, who wins, and which chain they land on.